My name's Pink, and it's really nice to meet you. You've been recommended to me by some people. Ooh, is this illegal? Okay, what happened last time?
I don't even remember off the top of my head.
Or talking to Mei Nanching.
Um,
You're talking to Mei Nanching. We did the second half of the story where we learned that he was like running around and shit. What happened at the start of this? Yeah, they were talking about how he was the guy at a guy who warned Xi Qingquan's family and stuff. And then they went over how he was state preceptor, and he had like three little guys that he made based on
yeah,
his friends, and how all the demons in the kiln are all
yeah.
the
I
shit they've
feel
run
like that
into.
was not the last time. I feel like that was the time before.
That's because it's all in the same fucking chapter, bitch.
Uh,
And Hua Chang, they were like talking to each other.
oh, he was shit talking. Watchon.
Yeah, he was shit talking Hua Chang, and they were talking about White No Face and how he like was gaslighting Shilian, and yeah, and then Hua Chang at the end was like, they're not alike at all, and then Mei Nanqing was like, "Oh, you're gay for this man. That's not like Junwu at all," and all
Right,
that
right,
shit.
right, right.
And Shilian was like, "Yeah, I'm very happy." Mei Nanqing was like, "It doesn't matter as long as you're happy." And then he's like complaining about how Crimson Rainsop Flower's fortune is terrible and twisted and evil, and he's no good for you, my son. And Hua Chang's like the star of solitude, right? And then he slowly realizes that he's the boy.
Hmm.
So that ends with, my smile is certainly quite insincere. But to say to a man's face that he's the star of solitude, disaster reborn, the worst of misfortunes, the child of parents who are better off dead and unable to live past 18, that's not very nice, is it? The state preceptor was confused at first, then slowly his eyes widened. You are... Now we're on chapter 120. Meet the Ghost King, hiding in the palace of Crown Prince. This time, Hua Chung's smile wasn't fake. On the contrary, it was very bright indeed. Stunned, the state preceptor pointed at him. You! 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 It's you? That child! You are that child! Both his fingers and his voice were practically shaking. Hua Chung wore a cheerful expression, and although he made no reply, the truth was clearly written on his face. That's right. I'm the one who almost burned down Mount Tai Song, the star of solitude himself. The state preceptor turned to Shilian and demanded, Your Highness! What's going on? Can you explain? Shilian spread his hands open and shrugged, giving a shy smile. It's just as you see. The state preceptor was utterly gobsmacked. He slapped the back of his right hand into his left palm a few dozen times. It was a moment before he could finally speak. You see? You see? I told you! I told you! Supreme Ghost Kings shouldn't be so carelessly provoked. He's been coming on to you from such a young age. Such ghastly persistence. It's been what? 800 years? 800 years! He's been stalking you for 800 years! Scary, too scary. My fortune telling is just too accurate.
Fucking
Please, Master, please drop it. Let's not talk about this anymore, Shilian pleaded. You haven't even seen the cave of 10,000 gods and all its divine statues, Shilian thought to himself. If the state preceptor had seen it, he'd probably decide Hua Cheng was a savage beast, or the state preceptor still hadn't recovered from his shock. No, he's too terrifying. What the heck? Such obsession. And so calculating. Your Highness, you must be absolutely careful. You'll be easily taken advantage of like this. Be careful of his lies. Sun Long wouldn't do anything like that, Shilian said. Hua Cheng dryly confirmed the statement. My lord thinks too much. I'd lie to anyone but His Highness. And then there's a footnote here. Shilian and Hua Cheng have both been using the respectful pronoun for you throughout their interaction with Mei Nianqing. Hua Cheng does not use respectful speech towards anyone other than Shilian and Mei Nianqing. So he's being respectful to his lover's sensei. The state preceptor leaned over and began to argue with Hua Cheng. You sly boy! You're taking advantage of the fact that His Highness isn't very experienced in this aspect of life. Don't think I can't tell. Why don't you tell me right now, to my face, how to lend spiritual power? How many ways can it be lent, and how do you lend it? What did you tell His Highness? Hua Cheng made no comment. Shilian started yelping and making random noises. Ha 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 ha! All right, let it go. The page has already been flipped. As long as it's been lent, it doesn't matter how, right? Ha ha ha! It's all the same. It's all the same. If they continued to discuss this, he was going to start flapping like a drowning duck being boiled in a pot. Shilian quickly changed the subject, turning serious. Let's discuss more crucial matters. Right now, he's locked us up, but he hasn't made a move yet. What is he planning? Probably arranging another test for you, Hua Cheng said. What kind of test, though? Shilian wondered. That's hard to say, the state preceptor said. To be honest, anything is possible. But Your Highness, don't change the subject! I'm giving you advice. Don't allow lust to confound your mind, and don't be deceived by pretty words. I say he's... Guga, someone's coming, Hua Cheng interrupted, his tone dark. Don't think you can lie to me, the state preceptor said. Unlike His Highness, I'm not so easily deceived. But Shilian said, Master, he's not lying to you. Someone really is coming. Let's hide. As he spoke, he and Hua Cheng lightly pushed off with their feet and leapt onto the ceiling beam to hide together. It wasn't long before frantic footsteps could be heard outside the chamber, and shortly after that, a man kicked the door open, cackling with pleasure. The heavenly realm is nothing! In the end, it still submits to the heel of this ancestor's boot.
No.
And then there's ... All three were struck speechless at the sound of that voice.
Why are you here?
A man in green robes swaggered into the room. It was, of course...
Swaggered?
It was, of course, Qi-Rong, who they hadn't seen in ages. Not only had Junwu locked up all the heavenly officials, he'd apparently also let loose all the nefarious creatures sealed in Heaven's prison. Those creatures could now freely roam the streets of the heavenly capital and rampage across the realm. Reason was standing on its head. It was bizarre to see. The state preceptor also hadn't expected the interloper would be Qi-Rong, and he stiffened at the sight of him. Qi-Rong pointed at him and began to shout. Friggin' state preceptor! Friggin' old man! Friggin' ancient fossil! Heh! Remember how you used to look down on me and refused me as a disciple? What do you think about me now? It's a slap in the face, right? But that's just karma. This is the ending you deserve. A timid little head peeked out from behind him. It was Gaza. This was probably the first time he'd ever entered such a sumptuous building, and he stared at his surroundings with wide eyes. He seemed to secretly want to touch the jade brick flooring, but didn't dare to do it. My good son, do you see? Qi-Rong said, proud and happy. This here is the heavenly realm, and now it's your daddy's domain. Really, Dad? Gaza said, awe in his voice. This place is so big. Of course, Qi-Rong exclaimed. If you don't believe me, watch. I spit wherever I please, and who dare tell me off? The state preceptor had no words. Gaza hesitated for a moment, but he still whispered, Dad, it's not good to spit on the ground. It's so beautiful and clean here. You'll dirty the floor. Qi-Rong was stumped. The state preceptor couldn't resist commenting either. "Take a look at yourself. What are you teaching that child? You're how old now, and you still don't know how to be a good role model? Even that boy is more mature than you." As he was lectured from both sides, Chirong's embarrassment turned into anger, and he jumped to his feet, spewing a barrage of curses. "Friggin' old man! What the hell do you know? Pretending to be some elder. I won't allow either of you to discipline me. And you! How dare you speak to your daddy like that, you ungrateful brat!" After the scolding, Guzza didn't dare make any further comments. When Chirong was done yelling, he guiltily wiped at the spit on the floor with his feet, then dragged Guzza out of the room while pretending that nothing had happened, cursing and cussing as he went. Before he left, however, he drew an enormous scrawl of graffiti upon the most conspicuous wall of the palace of Ling Wen. "Green Ghost Chirong, #1 Ghost King of the Three Realms, was here." After Chirong exited the palace of Ling Wen, the blue Budawang doll Shilian had tucked away in his sleeve slipped out on its own and fell to the ground. It landed in front of the wall that had been defaced with those enormous characters, and the spit mark Chirong had messily wiped away. The Budawang spun wildly, like it was losing its mind with rage. Once he and Huacheng leapt down from their hiding spot, Shilian picked it back up. The state preceptor shook his head. "Prince Xiaojing truly is unrelentingly immature. He's shown no growth whatsoever, and his taste is still incredibly bad." Huacheng glanced at the wall, too lazy to even show disdain. He simply said one word. "Hideous." The state preceptor finally found a reason to agree with him. He tucked his hands into his sleeves as he stated, "Extremely hideous. I have never seen anything uglier in all my years. Aside from that hellish mess of entrance couplets on the doors of the gambler's den in Ghost City, that handwriting is over 10 times worse than this." Huacheng had no comment. Shilian, on the other hand, was desperately trying to laugh off the state preceptor's words. "Ha ha ha, Master, I've seen the entrance couplets you're talking about, but I thought the handwriting was pretty good. It had lots of unique style. I rather liked it." The state preceptor was puzzled. "Your Highness, how could you say that? You were taught calligraphy by world-class experts. How do you not know the difference between beautiful and hideous? That handwriting is the absolute worst in all 3 realms. Not even the best teachers could salvage it. What exactly do you like about it? Has your taste fallen apart too?" "Master, please don't say any more," Shilian begged. "Guga," Huacheng suddenly called. "Zhenwu is making a move. He's heading to the palace of Shenle right now, probably to seek you out." The state preceptor jolted. "What? Your Highness, you must hurry back. Crimson Rainsod Flower, hide yourself well. You must absolutely not let him discover that you two have met up. My 3 friends' mountain bodies are trapped within the domain of Mount Tonglu, but they are currently trying to break free. No matter what course of action we take, we'll have a greater chance of success once they're out. Remember, do not act recklessly." Naturally, Shilian knew that. After they bid the state preceptor farewell, the pair left the palace of Ling Wen and stealthily rushed through the capital, evading countless guards and nefarious creatures along the way. They were still 4 blocks away from the palace of Shenle when Huacheng spoke up again. "Guga, he's only 1 block from the palace of Shenle." Alarmed, Shilian touched the silver butterfly that was monitoring the situation from afar. A scene flashed before his eyes. Sure enough, there was Zhenwu, walking along with his hands clasped behind his back. And he would reach the gates of the palace of Shenle in a mere 100 more steps. What should they do? At this rate, they'd get there after Zhenwu, or even cross paths on the way. And worse, the guards at the palace of Shenle's gates were still petrified by Huacheng's spell. Suddenly, the gates of the divine palace behind Zhenwu opened. The person standing there greeted him. "My lord?" Zhenwu paused in his step and looked back. "Rainmaster, what is it?" The one who stopped him was indeed Rainmaster. There were no nefarious creatures to be seen near the Rainmaster's residence, only the heavenly guards, probably because Zhenwu had instructed irrelevant individuals to steer far clear. "My lord, there is something I have forgotten to give you," she said very politely. "Might I ask you step inside for a moment?" Zhenwu inclined his head. "Very well." And sure enough, he turned back around. Shilian sighed a breath of relief. Thank goodness for the Lord Rainmaster. He decided then and there that he'd burn 18 tall incense sticks for the Rainmaster once he returned to the mortal realm. Seizing this opportunity, they dashed the last 4 blocks and reached the palace of Shenle before Zhenwu. As they entered, Hua Cheng released the spell on the guards at the gates with a casual wave of one hand. Although they were confused for a moment, they did not notice anything amiss. Shilian sprinted back to the inner chambers, but his expression changed again before he had a chance to sigh in relief. For the guards at the gates had entered to announce Zhenwu's arrival. He'd come so quickly. It seemed the Rainmaster hadn't stopped him for long. The two exchanged a look. Without a single word needing to pass between them, Hua Cheng turned and hid himself behind the curtains, while Shilian hopped into the bed to pretend to be asleep, his back facing the door. Just as he pulled the covers up, Zhenwu entered. He slowly walked over to the table, and was quiet for a moment before he spoke. Shenle, are you resting? Shilian didn't respond. He heard Zhenwu sit down and set something he'd been carrying onto the table before pouring himself a cup of tea. Shenle, I made you stay here for your own good, he said gently. There are many things that would have ended much better if you had listened to me. Shilian didn't move. He still lay there, facing away from him. His mind was like a raging sea as he remembered all the state preceptor had told him. What expression could he possibly wear if he was forced to look directly at Zhenwu, who, for the moment, was still being kind and gentle? Behind him, Zhenwu continued languidly. But not only did you sneak outside to play, you even brought someone back with you, and hid them in your room. It seems you really do not listen to me anymore. A chill shot down Shilian's back, and all his hair stood on end. The terror he felt seemed so similar to what the state preceptor must have experienced on the night he snuck into Zhenwu's room and removed his mask. He heard Zhenwu rise from his seat at the table and slowly approach where Shilian lay beneath the sheets, and where Hua Cheng was standing behind the curtains next to the bed. Shilian had hidden Fengshin beneath the pillow when he leapt into the bed, and he grasped its hilt tightly in one hand. Although he lay in wait for the right moment, he doubted any such opportunity would come. Unexpectedly, Zhenwu didn't go for the curtains, but instead came to the bedside and lifted the sheets covering Shilian's body. A chill washed over Shilian, and he shot upright, staring hard at Zhenwu. Zhenwu eyed him, calculating. That robe doesn't suit you, he said mildly. Only then did Shilian remember. He was still wearing the brocade immortal. It had turned into a white cultivation robe, but of course Zhenwu wouldn't be fooled so easily. He watched Shilian for a moment, then sighed. You simply will not listen to me. You went out to cause trouble again, didn't you? As Shilian watched him, uncertain, his gaze briefly fell on the table. A gift box had been placed there, already unwrapped to display its contents. A few cabbages, several potatoes, and some white radishes. So when the Rainmaster stopped Zhenwu and said she'd forgotten to give him something, she meant souvenirs from Yushi country. Behind Zhenwu, Hua Cheng silently moved an edge of the curtain to reveal his face. His gaze cut across the space behind Zhenwu and met Shilian's. He seemed to be deliberating on whether to make a move then and there, and his hand crept to the hilt, to rest on the hilt of the silver scimitar at his waist. However, Shilian didn't think it was the right moment. He shook his head, an action easily disguised as a sign that he didn't want to talk to Zhenwu. Where did you hide Ling Wen? Zhenwu asked. He couldn't hand over Ling Wen, of course. The moment he saw her, he wouldn't even need to ask her what had happened. Her Budao form would be a dead giveaway that Hua Cheng had infiltrated the heavenly capital. But Shilian couldn't help but wonder, did Zhenwu really not realize that Hua Cheng was the one who'd snuck in? Shenle, your expression is telling me that something is wrong, Zhenwu continued. What is it? Are you hiding something, or someone else, in addition to the brocade immortal? In fact, Shilian's expression hadn't changed at all. Zhenwu simply knew him very well. Silently exchanging a look with Hua Cheng behind Zhenwu's back, Shilian steadied himself. Think whatever you want, he said coolly. No one can leave here, and there's nothing I can do about that. Do whatever you please, your elderliness. Then he lay down again, pulling the covers over his head. As for Junwu, he turned around and started pacing leisurely within the chamber. Although he took his time searching the room, he found nothing. Junwu pondered the matter for a moment, and sure enough, he turned towards the curtains and reached for them. When he lifted the curtain, there was nothing there. Pausing for a moment, Junwu dropped the curtain and returned to the table anew. As for Shilian, who was still lying in bed, his reeling heart still hadn't relaxed, because Hua-chung was right next to him under the covers, and their faces were pressed extremely close.
God.
Shilian's heart was pounding thunderously loud, his entire body tense and taut. Hua-chung smiled, then mouthed soundlessly, "Don't be afraid, Your Highness." When Junwu turned away, Hua-chung had moved the curtains aside. After Junwu walked past him, he'd effortlessly slipped out and silently darted to Shilian's bedside. Shilian had yanked him onto the bed and stuffed him under the covers, and Junwu had turned around again just as Hua-chung rolled beneath the sheets. The timing was seamless, the positioning was intricate, and Junwu saw nothing but a pile of messy blankets. Finally, Junwu said, "Shenle, get out of bed. You are not really sleeping. Get up and come with me." Shilian actually did want to laze around in bed and not get up, but he was afraid that Junwu would come over again to lift the covers. He could only hide his arm beneath the pillow to secret away the blue budawang inside his sleeve, then drag himself out of bed. As Junwu had already left the bedchamber, Shilian looked back and saw that Hua-chung had gotten out of the bed. His gaze was dark, and he was clearly ready to come to Shilian's side, but Shilian hurriedly waved to signal that he mustn't expose himself, that everything was fine. Junwu called out to him from outside the room. "What is wrong? Why are you dallying? Is there something keeping you in bed?" Shilian dashed back and grabbed the box of souvenirs on the table, then went back out, closing the door behind him. He grabbed a carrot from the box and took a loud bite. "It's nothing," Shilian said tonelessly. "Am I not allowed to be hungry?" Junwu glanced at the thing in his hand. "If you like those, I have more," he said warmly. "I will send you some another time." Shilian couldn't think of a response to that. After they had walked for a few streets, they could hear a ruckus from afar and the sound of cackling. "Function, you dog! This ghost king is trampling your palace right now, and what are you going to do about it? Come on, come fight me!" It was Chi-Rong again. As they approached, they could see that he was brutally vandalizing all the golden palaces nearby. That giant, ugly Chi-Rong was here, was scrawled everywhere. Chi-Rong even hopped onto the roof and pulled up the tiles to better holler smugly at the heavenly officials inside. By his side was Gaza, who looked greatly troubled. He clearly wanted to speak up, but was holding himself back. Although Chi-Rong was jumping and stomping all over the palace of Nanyang, Function's troubled thoughts left him with no mind to pay attention to him. Chi-Rong got bored after yelling for a while, so he went over to Mu Qing's palace and repeated the process. The only response he received to his antics was Mu Qing rolling his eyes a few times, and Chi-Rong stomped all over the roof in anger before he hopped to the roof of Xuan Yizhen's palace. Yet before he could even open his mouth, a divine statue carved with a head of copious curls burst out of the palace and collided with Chi-Rong, the impact sending him flying off the roof. He plummeted to the ground headfirst and landed with a crash. An enraged Xuan Yizhen had used his own divine statue as a weapon, hurling it directly at Chi-Rong. Guzo was stupefied. As he clung to the edge of the roof, he cried, "Dad, are you all right?" Chi-Rong was furious. "Xuan Yizhen, you shameless dimwit! You dare use such despicable means to ambush me!" Although he hesitated for a moment, Guzo still asked with confusion, "Dad, how was that a despicable ambush?" After all, Xuan Yizhen had thrown that divine statue at him very openly. "Stupid son! Anything he does is despicable if he manages to win against me!" Chi-Rong yelled.
Stupid son.
"How could he possibly win against this ancestor without resorting to tricks?" "Oh," Guzo replied. Regardless of circumstances, Chi-Rong was still his little cousin, so Shilian couldn't help but cover his face in embarrassment. Zhenwu paused in his step. Green ghost? When Qirong heard Zhenwu's voice, his face stiffened. He crawled to his feet and looked over cautiously. He seemed very wary of Zhenwu. When they looked, both father and son naturally saw Shilian as well. Scrap cultivator, Guga! Guza exclaimed happily. Qirong, on the other hand, only snorted derisively. My! Who's this? If it ain't Cousin Crown Prince. Shilian didn't acknowledge him in the slightest, which set him off. He came over to harass him, circling Shilian and jeering. You were so high and mighty before, when you looked down on me with 2 mountains backing you up. So why do you look like a lost dog now? Shilian was puzzled. 2 mountains. He abruptly realized that one was Huacheng, and the other was Zhenwu. A myriad of emotions stirred in him as he glanced at Zhenwu, who was standing in front of him. He suddenly recalled that night a long time ago, when he had asked Huacheng what he thought Zhenwu was like. At the time, he'd said that Zhenwu must really hate Shilian. Oh ho ho! Qirong cackled. You only managed to ambush me that time, because you used that fucker Huacheng as backup. But before I could settle the score with you, someone else got you first. What good karma? Green Ghost, stop talking nonsense to Shenle, Zhenwu said, unperturbed. You can let your subordinates out now. Although Qirong freely cursed Zhenwu behind his back in the past, he glumly tucked in his tail when the man himself was present. While his expression showed how unwilling he truly was, he hopped onto the roof without another word, picked Guza up, and scurried off to do his assigned errands. Zhenwu turned to Shilian. Let's go. Shilian looked at the route Zhenwu was leading him down and wondered. We're heading towards Qirong's subordinates? Could that mean... After a while, they turned a corner, and a martial god's magnificent palace stood before them. The palace of Mingguang. There were already angry roars and incoherent shouts coming from inside. Startled, Shilian Sorry.
Oh my god.
Startled, Shilian stopped caring about following Zhenwu and ran inside ahead of him. It certainly was a mess in there. Pei Ming's face was ashen. This was because Xuanji had coiled herself in firm, constricted loops around him like a viper, like she was desperate to tie herself to him in knots. With her hair loose, her face savage, and her eyes wide and glaring, she looked like she was mere moments away from tearing out Pei Ming's throat with her teeth. But at the same time, she herself had been choked and pulled away by Banyue. A broken sword was about to pierce Pei Ming's neck, stayed only by Pei Shu dragging it backwards and preventing it from following through. Chemo's fists were in mid-swing behind Banyue and Pei Shu, but the ashen-faced Pei Ming dragged him down to interrupt the blow. Had he not, Chemo's enormous, hammer-like fists would have surely squashed Pei Shu and Banyue flat. Xuanji and Rongguang screamed and tore at each other as they argued about who would have the privilege of choking or stabbing Pei Ming to death. Get lost! Pei Ming's shit life is mine! It's all mine! Xuanji shrieked. Rongguang, who was possessing the Mingguang sword, yelled back, You get lost! What an ignorant wench! There are at least 800 women who Pei Ming doesn't want anymore, if not 1,000. And do you really think you rank high on that list? I'm the one who gets to end Pei Ming's shit life. Veins popped violently on Pei Ming's forehead. You're both insane! Get lost, all of you! Shilian felt endless sympathy. This was a prime example of the misfortune born of extreme popularity. General Pei, hang on! Shilian said that. Before he could move to rescue the unfortunate general, a hand rested on his shoulder. Shenle, you cannot think I brought you here to do good deeds, Zhenwu said from behind him. From the middle of their bruising brawl, Pei Ming and company also noticed them. General Hua! Banyue called out joyously. With that hand pressing down on him, Shilian couldn't move a muscle. Then why did you bring me here? His hand still on Shilian's shoulder, Zhenwu pushed him along into the palace. The tangled mob slumped to the ground the moment they entered, like their strength had been sucked away. Only 1 or 2 could still flop around. Mingguang, Zhenwu said. Now that Xuanji wasn't strangling him anymore, Pei Ming's complexion was back to normal. He sighed in relief. My lord, really, thank you for that. While his tone wasn't sarcastic, the words themselves were laced with irony. Junwu didn't seem to mind, though, and he smiled. No need to thank me so early, Mingguang. I came here to get your help with something. What is it? Pei Ming asked. In the royal capital, in the lower realm, Junwu began, there is a human array. Shilian had known he was plotting something. Break it, and I will reinstate you as the martial god of the north, Junwu finished, his tone flat and indifferent. Pei Ming glanced at Shilian and chuckled dryly. Isn't Crimson Rainsod Flower guarding the array? I may not be able to break it by force alone. Of course you cannot break it by force, Junwu said. But I did not say you had to use such methods. It would actually be very easy for Pei Ming to break the array, as Shi Qingxuan would surely let him in, as long as you pretended to be there to help. After he entered, he could ruin it in an instant if he left the circle without warning, and Hua Cheng wouldn't be able to fix it, because he wasn't actually guarding the royal capital right now. That's the end. And then there's a picture of him hiding. I will send. Will Pei Ming fall for it, or will he be a good man?
Pei Ming, you have to be a good man.
Pei Ming, you have to be a good boy.
Just
Pei Ming, you have to prove that you're a good boy. This is your chance.
Yeah, literally, you have to prove it to Sal, really.
You have to prove it to Sal.
Like, out of everyone.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. You can do whatever. I mean, I still
want to fuck him?
Yeah, I'm still on your side. Just, you gotta...
Wow, he can be evil and you still want to fuck him?
I guess. Why wouldn't I?